Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow members. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Audit and Resources Committee, which is being broadcast live and recorded via Microsoft Teams Live. My name is Councillor Steve Holes and I am chair of this committee. I will be conducting the meeting tonight. During the meeting, you will hear from members of the Audit and Resources Committee who are on your screen now. Also present are the officers from Eastleigh Borough Council who will be putting the reports to you this evening. If we have any non-committee members joining us, I will bring them in at relevant points and ask them to introduce themselves. If we experience a connection problem, this event will be paused. If a councillor loses connection or joins later, I will ask them to introduce or reintroduce themselves for the benefit of viewers. In the unlikely event of myself losing connection, the Vice Chair, Alex Bourne, will take over. This meeting will be video recorded and will be uploaded to the Council's website. More information is available on the Council's website. Before we start, I'd just like to apologise for my sore throat and my cold. And if I go off screen, it will be because I'm having a bit of a coughing fit or whatever. So having got that out of the way, we can move to item 1, which is apologies. Are there any apologies?
There are, Chair. We have apologies from Councillor Park.
OK, thank you very much. We now move to the minutes of the meeting, item 2, held on January the 17th, 2023. Can I approve these as a true record? Do I have a proposer?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor
Happy to
Bourne.
second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Irish. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Against? Aye. Against? No, and abstaining. OK, that's duly carried. Thank you. Item 3 is public participation. There will be no public participation as far as I'm aware because we've had no recorded requests. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right, Chair.
OK, thank you very much. Item 4, declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest they wish to make? If so, please indicate now. And when called, please state the nature and reason for the interest. You can, of course, declare any interests as they occur to you during the meeting. OK, I'll take that as not at present. Item 5 then is the 2021-22 external audit verbal update on progress and reporting issues, and I'll ask Simon Mathers and Janet Dawson from EY if they would like to take the stage. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chair. So we are giving you a verbal update today on the basis that the work for the audit is progressing well, but is not yet complete. So rather than bring you a finished report, we thought we would talk to you about the key areas of work that we still have underway and the key areas of judgment that we have. So as I say, the audit is progressing well. We're getting towards completion. There are a number of areas where we still require some final evidence, and there may be some final adjustments to the accounts as a result of the audit. We would say that the audit and the reporting requirements for the council and the audit are highly complex, and that's mainly as a result of the council's commercial activity and the size of its balance sheet, and that introduces a number of challenges both for your finance team but also for us in terms of auditing them. We've got a very good relationship with the finance team though, and we're continuing to work through these particular areas. I thought it would be worth just taking a couple of minutes to take you through what those reporting issues and points are that are still under debate, and then just talk to you about the likely timing of completing the audit. So you'll remember from our last meeting, or the last meeting, that we brought you a VFM update in terms of key areas of potential risk. And we raised a VFM risk on the nitrate credit scheme that the council has entered into. Now, in terms of financial statements reporting of how that scheme should operate, we have got a difference of opinion in terms of the technical approach required between ourselves and the finance team at the moment, which we're continuing to work towards a resolution. The issue that we have is that the guidance available to the council to follow in terms of accounting for the scheme wasn't designed to take into account such a new and innovative scheme, and the council, in choosing the way in which they're planning to account for it and have built the future credits into their MTFP, so their medium-term financial plan, is somewhat at odds with the existing capital accounting guidance. And so that's the difficulty that we have at the moment. So we're working with officers to get to an agreed position on that. Chalcroft Solar Farm is an area where, you know, it's highly specialised. We've brought our specialists in to review the valuation that's being reported in the accounts, and we will be working through what key entries are required in the financial statements around that. I think it's fair to say that, you know, that we've also had a good look at how that has been, how the decisions were made around that, the information provided to members as the council entered into that, because clearly, you know, the council has paid 26 million to acquire the asset and the land, but they now have an asset and land that's probably worth about 10 million in their current existing use. So we wanted to just make sure that we had understood the governance around that decision. And I think, based on the work that we've seen and the information that was shared with members as those decisions were taken, I think we're satisfied that there's no exceptions that we need to report in our value for money arrangements around that. There are a number of quite a large number of numerical and disclosure amendments that are going to be required for the accounts. But again, as we've said before, you know, this is a very complex organisation. The finance team have some great skills there, but they are pretty stretched in terms of the amount of different types of entries that they need to have a look at, the complexity, the group structure, the number of significant estimates and judgments. And we would say that they're under significant pressure to produce the accounts to reflect the organisation appropriately. And it may be something that Sarah might want to comment on once I've finished. So the final area that I was going to just touch on was around the material uncertainty ongoing concern that we've reflected in previous years' opinions. And clearly that reflects the high level of borrowing that the organisation has and the relatively high proportion that's short term. And clearly, as we're looking out into the next 12 months after signing off the accounts, there is still some uncertainty as to the replacement of that short-term borrowing and where the council would go. So we do anticipate that we will include a material uncertainty in our opinion again around the access to that short-term funding in the going concern period. I think that was it. I don't know, Simon, did you want to touch on valuations at all?
No, I think that was a comprehensive run through of the key issues, Janet. There's nothing I'd add to that.
Okay, thank you both. Sarah, did you want to come in at all?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to echo, I think, Janet's points that we are a very complex council in terms of our accounting statements. So yes, we're working very well with Audit, but there is an awful lot to go through, but we are nearly there, which is fantastic. I think the point I'd particularly like to pick up is that one about resourcing for the finance team. So in my opinion, we have sufficient resource to cope at the moment with the workload that we have. I think looking forward with the additional schemes carrying on, more housing work and the creation of the HRA, I think possibly we might be a little bit tight, but we'll report back to committee in the future on that, just to make sure, because we're so complex, we need to make sure that we are definitely at capacity, got enough capacity to be able to cope with the things coming our way. But other than that, Chair, no, I think it was a fair summary. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would add that Sarah is keeping me abreast of that. So we've taken up what you've said tonight and in the past about staffing levels, and we realise that it is important to ensure that our staff, who do a damn good job, are well supported and have the facilities they need to carry out their work. So we do pick up on that, and thank you, Sarah, for keeping me informed as chair. I have a question from Councillor Tidridge. Jin.
Thank you. I just really want to ask if it's possible, because I fully get what you're saying. It's an unusual Stoke Park farm, etc., and the other nitrate offsetting parts of the project. It's new to everybody. It's new to the council. It's new to officers. I'm just thinking that if skilled officers are, it's a time-consuming, head-scratching process to work out how to reflect it in audit. Would it be possible to produce after you've gone through all the pain? Is it possible to send some sort of document round to all councillors, just explaining your conclusions and explaining the approach? Because, to be honest, if officers are struggling, then I can guarantee that myself and probably some of the other councillors may also appreciate a little bit of extra help in understanding it.
Thank you, Jin. Janet, Simon, did
Yes.
either of you want to come back on that, and then I'll ask Sarah to come in as well.
Okay, so at the conclusion of the audit, we will put an audit results report together, which will discuss these particular issues in some detail. But I do recognise that those might be quite technical in the way in which we present those back. We then also produce the auditor's annual report, which we strive to write in slightly more simple language, which is then accessible to all councillors. So I think if Simon and I take that away and see what we can do with those two reports to make it comprehensive but understandable in those two documents, then you'll have access to those both through the audit committee and then more generally.
That'd be brilliant. It's just making sure that it's actually there in the audit report, that in a way that's understandable and also that stands out, because it's an issue that is of great interest to a lot of councillors, and it's just making sure that we are able to understand as much as we can about what sounds like a very complicated thing to account for.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. It's about being fully informed, isn't it? Sarah, did you want to come back at all?
Not necessarily, Chair. I think it will be picked up in the audit report. So if after that there's any confusion, then we can have a separate briefing. That might help. Yeah,
thank you very much for that. And I would also add to members that both Councillor Bourne and myself have been kept abreast of all the matters around the nitrate situation, and we are aware of the negotiations going on between the council and EY, so that will develop as it does. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from members? No? Okay, if you do have any questions incidentally tonight, please put them in the chat so that I can pick them up and Sarah can pick them up, as Councillor Tidridge did for this question that she asked. Okay, thank you very much, both of you, for that, and we look forward to your written report. I think it's maybe 2 meetings time, is it, that we were discussing? You will probably bring it to us, so we'll look forward to that. And you're welcome to stay as we move forward through the agenda, but you also we understand it if you need to be somewhere else. Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Okay, item 6 is a capital investment and treasury management strategy, a very meaty document, and I think it's Tom, you're presenting this.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tom.
So being brought forward for approval to Cabinet and Council, 3 main reports. So we've got the capital strategy, the treasury management strategy and the investment strategy. So they're looking to outline the council's capital expenditure to date, the plans moving forward and the inherent risks in having a large capital programme and how these risks are mitigated. They also set out an array of prudential indicators, so a set of metrics to look at the performance of the capital programme and also to give an indication of the size of the capital programme. 3 reports can be summarised as follows. So the capital strategy, which predominantly is governed by the Prudential Code and the Treasury Management Code from Cllr. So they were updated in 2021. So these reports and strategies now align with those updated Cllr codes. So it looks at how the council determines its capital programme, which we call the Community Investment Programme internally. Looks at the forecast levels of capital expenditure based on approvals, governance of how projects are brought into the capital programme and also how they're managed once they're in the capital programme, how we finance those capital expenditures, and how the financing is repaid, and also sets the limits for capital expenditure and associated borrowing. We then have the Treasury Management Strategy. So it's much more of a formal risk management document around how Treasury management will be carried out over the next 12 months, looking more at what we class as Treasury investments. So predominantly cash flow management, ensuring we've got enough money to pay our bills as they become due. If we've got excess cash, how we're going to invest that, and also looking at the tools we have available to us to enable us to borrow in the most economical and efficient way we can, looking at keeping our debt costs as low as possible while balancing ensuring we've got certainty of cost of our borrowing costs as we move into the future, but also allowing us the flexibility to change our plans should capital expenditure plans change in the future, or should the capital programme change. And it also looks at who we as a council can invest in, any ESG considerations as well, so those sort of environmental, social and governance considerations, and limits on investment, so how much we can invest and where, and how much we can invest with each counterparty. We then move on to the investment strategy, which is looking at more of the other types of investment we have, so moving away from the treasury management investments and more into what's classed as sort of the investments to support local public services or to achieve our corporate objectives through commercial investments. So the investment strategy sets out the different types of investments the council holds, how it mitigates the risks of holding these investments, and also outlines the financial returns that we gain from these investments. And it also sets prudential indicators to help monitor the performance of investments. Throughout all 3 reports, you'll see prudential indicators in each report, which are kind of a bit of a guideline and a snapshot of where we are at the moment in terms of the limits that we've set ourselves, and also what the capital programme will look like moving into the future, and also to some extent looking backwards so we can see how it's moved over the years. That's the 3 main strategies. So if there's any questions on those, and then what I'll do is I'll then move into the recommendations, so I can just highlight what it is that we're recommending for approval to Cabinet and Council.
Okay, thank you. Have I got any questions from members on what you've heard so far on the 3 reports? They're extremely extensive and informative, and I think they explain the situation very well. So have I got any members wishing to ask questions? Okay, in that case, I'll invite you to carry on then.
Thank you, Chair. So in terms of the recommendations which go to Cabinet and then on to Council, so the first 3 recommendations are to approve the 3 strategies. So to approve the general information provided in those strategies, and then we move into some more specific approvals. So we've got the approval for the flexible use of capital receipts. So the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities have for a while allowed a change in accounting regulation to allow councils to utilise capital receipts to fund revenue transformation programmes. As the council, as councillors will have seen through the budget process, the council is currently moving through its continuous improvement strategy. So it's looking as part of that to make use of this flexibility to use capital receipts, because we do have some capital receipts available to be used for this purpose. It's predominantly to fund the costs of implementing a new structure across the council, and also to look at a new asset management structure to ensure that we've got the correct level of resource and to maximise the performance of that team, both from risk management and to protect income for the council. So that recommendation is asking for approval from council to allow that change in accounting practice, which will then be referred to the Secretary of State to show that we've made that decision and that we're going to do it, and will then be picked up by the auditors as part of the audit process to ensure we've met those the regulations which are set out by the department. We've got the approval of the MRP strategy for the council. So this sets out how the council will charge MRP, so minimum revenue provision, so the repayment of borrowing through revenue purposes for the upcoming year. There's currently a consultation ongoing by the LUHC to determine any changes to MRP guidance. So it might change moving forward. We're just waiting for the that consultation to finish. But the only new area on this strategy this time is around MRP for capital expenditure on loans to third parties, which is valid for the council at the moment because of the loan that we've got to Aspect Eastleigh for the Pembers Hill housing development, which is currently being repaid. So we're going to follow this process as part of the MRP strategy to repay that, which is to use the, instead of charging MRP, we'll use the capital receipts as the loan is repaid to repay the borrowing, which we've done in 2021-22 and will continue to do through 22-23. But that's the only change to that strategy for this year. And then we've got the approval of the prudential indicators. So this document pulls together all the prudential indicators from the various reports into one document so that they can all be viewed together. This will be brought for approval and monitoring quarterly moving forward. So it's updated for any new items of capital expenditure and any changes to forecast capital expenditure. And it also will then allow changes to be seen on a quarterly basis and acted upon as necessary. And it will give a good snapshot of the risks the council is facing, and also a good place to see movements over time and a bit of a view on how risks may manifest to ensure that we've got the management in the right place to make sure those risks are mitigated as we move forward. And then we've got the Treasury Management Policy Statement alongside the Treasury Management and Investment Management Practices. So it sets out what the council will maintain in terms of its Treasury Management Policy Statement. So it's a brief statement just setting out what it is that Treasury Management means to the council and how it's going to act in line with that statement. And then also has the Treasury Management Practices and the Investment Management Practices, which are a more prescriptive approach to how Treasury Management and investments are managed by the council. It's a little bit like a constitution for Treasury Management. Whilst they seem quite prescriptive in nature, a lot of it's standard practice for the Treasury function, but it's a kind of key document for finance and Treasury officers to relate back to ensure that they are carrying out their duties in line with the governance set out by these practices. So it's a key document more for probably for officers, but sets out that council approved that's how officers will manage the Treasury management function. And new for this year are the investment management practices, which are just previously it's been predominantly around Treasury management, but with local government with a lot of councils having more commercial investments. They've also CIPFA and DLUHC have looked more into these investment management practices now, so setting out a similar sort of prescriptive approach as an outline to govern how we deal with those sorts of investments. And I think that's, in a nutshell, those three quite large strategies. Yes. So I'd welcome any questions if anyone has any.
Well, thank you. And first of all, thank you for putting this report together, because as I said earlier, it is extensive and must have taken a good deal of time. So thank you for that. Members, are there any specific questions on what is going to Cabinet and then full council, I would assume? And do we want to comment in regards to passing our thoughts to Cabinet before they consider? Otherwise, I will ask for a proposer and seconder to note the report. I see Councillor Bourne, are you wishing to speak? Yes.
Yes, it's not a question, it's more an observation and statement. So thank you so much for the report. I did have to read it twice because there was so much in there. But it's such a highly regulated environment, and there's lots of things that need to be adhered to. I just suggest that our local MP, who's very interested in this subject, should get to read them and see that all the checks and balances that are in place and everything that gets adhered to, because he's so worried about the situation. But reading this and everything that all the regulations that you have to adhere to and the quality of our staff, it gives me great comfort in what we're doing. The numbers are huge, but the rewards are huge as well for the local communities in terms of the properties we're building, and in terms of the income that's generating, that's stop people having to pay so much council tax, etc. So whilst people can call it risky, with all these checks and balances in place, I think everyone's doing a fantastic job, and just like to say thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Councillor Bourne. And Councillor Tidridge. Gin.
Thank you. We reference really, to be honest, with what Councillor Bourne was just saying. I mean, obviously there's a great deal of concern about the level of borrowing that EC Borough Council undertakes, and therefore I'm very pleased to see that there are checks and balances in place. I'm just curious, do we go actually beyond what's required legally in terms of the number of checks that we make?
I'd say yes, because internally we have our own governance processes which are not governed by CIPFA. So CIPFA will highlight how, at a high level, how investments and borrowing should be taken. But these reports very much talk about it on a local level as well. So they ensure we meet the overall guidance, but they also then go further into looking at how we internally look at investment decisions. So we do additional work in there as well, and there are some additional tables and sort of what we class as local prudential indicators within these reports as well. So it's where on top of the prescribed prudential indicators we have to report on, there are some additional ones in there as well to give a little bit more of an overview of what it means to the council to hold these investments.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think it would be fair to say, Tom, that even when we're considering things like interest rates, we have independent advice from Arlene Close, who keep us abreast of what's happening in that respect. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Do I have any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Can I have a proposer and seconder that we note the report that's going to Cabinet? Councillor Irish proposed, Councillor Bourne second. All in favour?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Any against? And any abstentions? Okay, that's duly noted. Thank you very much. Item 7 is the property portfolio update. Now, I understand that Jackie, who was going to be presenting this, is not very well, so she's unable to attend. But officers have agreed with me that we'll continue with the item, and they will do their best to answer the questions, but obviously it's not their field of expertise. But if there is anything that we can't answer tonight for members, then it will be dealt with via email and then confirmed in the minutes of the next meeting. If there's anything extremely serious, then obviously we're asked for the item to come back. Members are happy with that. So Sarah, are you going to do the introduction on it?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just a brief introduction to the report. So you've seen this sort of thing before, so we're bringing it to you quite regularly. It's just an update on our property portfolio and the performance of it, and see where we are. It focuses on, originally we brought it in because of the impact of COVID on our property portfolio, but obviously the economy has moved on since then, so it kind of encapsulates all of that. As you read through it, there's sector commentary on each different area and how that's performing. And there's a section also on the COVID payment plans, which are all on track, so that's going very well, that we put in place all those months ago. I think one of the key points to pull out is that 90% of the rent that's been demanded so far this year has been received. And then the report also touches on the property reserves that we hold, which are there specifically to look at void. So when there are void properties, that is why we hold the reserve. We put it aside all the time while we have let properties, so that when there are times when there are void properties, our revenue account isn't impacted, because we can push the reserve back through the revenue account to balance out. So and then when the rents come back in, then it builds the reserve back up, and those reserves are behaving as we would have wanted them to. We have one tenant in liquidation, one significant tenant in liquidation, and I know that negotiations are ongoing, and Jackie's all over that and working with agents to negotiate where we stand on that particular tenancy. But other than that, Chair, there's probably not a lot else for me to say, except that we're very happy to take questions. I know a bit, Andy knows a bit, Tom knows a bit, so between us we might be able to help you. But as you said, if we can't, then yeah, then I'm afraid we'll have to feed back to Jackie and come back by email or to the committee next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I ask if there's any members wishing to speak at this time? Okay, not at the moment. I have to say that a couple of things that I picked up. One is that the decision we made to come to rental agreements during COVID actually has been borne out, because virtually all the payment plans have been signed up to and agreed, and they pretty well delivered, which is excellent news, because it saved a lot of companies, I'm sure. So I wanted to say well done to the team for acting so proactively during that period. It was very important, especially to small companies. So thank you for that. And I'm also encouraged, because people ask where the money goes from our income from property, etc. And it's quite clear that we have these reserves that we put money into to protect us from interest rate rises, and for maintenance, and for protecting us against voids, which we don't like to see happen, but clearly they do happen from time to time. And I guess with the markets and the state of the economy, that is a possibility at the moment, that voids are going to be, unfortunately, part of our life. So it's good to see that we cover ourselves to a certain extent with those reserves. So I think that would be useful to tell all members, because that's a question that's often asked by members, never alone the public. You know, how do we protect ourselves against those issues? So maybe we could look at doing something along those lines and putting it out to members that this is how we do it. Could we do that, Sarah?
Yes, certainly we can look at a thing like that. There's a little bit of information about that in the budget report that goes to
Yes.
Cabinet on Thursday and then on to Council on Monday. But yeah, we could look at firming it up and giving a bit more information, definitely.
Yeah, I think it would be very helpful to all members to know exactly how we do that. So that's good. Excellent. I've got no other questions as it stands. Can I ask again if members have any questions?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Tennent, Bruce.
Yeah, in the report it talks about 23 Brunswick Place. Is that one of our properties, or is that just being used as an example? It's in paragraph 11 on page 100.
Yeah, I think it's just an example of something in that sector that's local, but it's not one of ours, no.
Okay, that's dealt with my question then, because I don't need to ask a subsequent question. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, I've just found that. Okay, any other questions? In that case, can I have a proposer and a seconder to note the report?
I'm happy to propose that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Manning,
Second.
and Cllr Irish as well to second. Thank you very much. All in favour?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you very much. That's duly carried. Item 8 is the internal audit quarterly monitoring statement. Can I ask Lisa to present that, please?
Hello, councillors. This is the internal audit monitoring report for Q3, which details the work undertaken by internal audit in Q3 of the current financial year. It details out audits completed, new audits commenced, and audits that are in progress that will be carried forward to report in Q4. It also details a current position of outstanding priority 2 recommendations, which I'm happy to say I'm satisfied that the appropriate action is being taken to address them, and there are no matters currently for escalation or for this committee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I ask members if you have any questions on this? No, silence. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, can I ask for a proposal and seconder that we note the report?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And seconder?
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Irish. All in favour?
In favour.
Agreed.
Agreed. Agreed.
Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's duly carried. I'm getting quieter, my throat is getting to me. Item 9 is the corporate risk register, and that is Jo to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, councillors. This is the annual report on risk management arrangements, and alongside that sits the updated risk management framework, risk appetite statement and the terms of reference. It's a bit later coming to committee this year. Internal Audit did a review of risk management, and I thought it was better to hold off writing the report until I'd received that Internal Audit report. She was on the other foot for me that time. So I received that report and I've been able to make some tweaks to the framework following it. So I just want to say thank you to Lisa and team for their work on it. This has been through SRMG, Strategic Risk Management Group, so it's already been discussed there. Sharing it with Audit Committee to get any comments, feedback, and then it will go to Cabinet for approval. So happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask if members have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. I have to say I represent the committee on the risk management group, and I haven't got any particular questions on this. So I'm happy with what I've heard. So can I ask then for a proposal and seconder that we note the report?
Happy to propose,
It's going
Chair.
to Cabinet.
Yeah. Second, Chair.
Thank you. It was Councillor Bourne to propose. All in favour?
Agreed.
Aye.
Agree.
Agreed.
Against? And abstentions? Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. Moving on to item 10, which is verbal updates from members representing the Procurement Executive Group, and I think that was Councillor Irish and Park. So, Councillor Irish, it's over to you.
Thank you, Chair. It will be me. Yes, thank you very much. A very short report because it was a very short meeting, but the group met on the 7th of February. The Procurement and Insurance Officer was welcomed back from maternity leave and presented the procurement action plan to the group, which was noted. The procurement performance indicators were presented by the senior accountant and were noted, and the group also reviewed the summary of waivers. The Executive Head of Governance provided an update on the procurement policy following the Cabinet approval to begin further consultation with the market. An officer group would be meeting shortly to progress this. The aim is to formally adopt the policy by the 1st of October 2023. The work programme was discussed and it was agreed that the updates on the procurement bill and dynamic purchasing system would be agenda items for the next meeting, which will be on the 27th of June 2023. And that, Chair, is the end of my report.
That was a very short meeting.
short meeting and a short report.
Okay, thank you for that. Do I have any questions on that? Okay, then we'll note your report, Wayne, and thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Chair. No problem.
Item 11 is the Cabinet Forward Plan. Are there any items on there that members feel that we might want to look at that we're not already looking at or are not going to another committee? Okay, thank you very much. We'll note that. And item 12 is the A&R work programme. So looking at it, there was something that was moved, wasn't there, to this next meeting?
I think on the printed papers, the March report has the statement of accounts and the draft letter of representation, but that will go to the meeting after that now. And then hopefully the repairs and renewal strategy that we would have had at this meeting but didn't, that should go to the March meeting. But if I can confirm with you after, Chair, that would really help. That's
fine. I've only got down to the 7th of March at the moment. Is that because we're coming to the end of a council year?
Yes, I think that's right. It goes up to then. So yeah, probably for the March meeting, we'll try and flesh it out more for the next year so that you can see what's coming.
I think that would be useful because particularly Audit, we need to know where we are with that because we're
definitely.
Yeah, we need to know when that's pegged in to come to us because we'll be looking at the following year's accounts or this current year's accounts by then and signing them off to go to EY. So they're nearly a year behind, which isn't ideal. Okay, thank you very much. We'll note that there isn't nothing really to change, so I don't think we need a proposal and seconder for that either. I think that's given. The next meeting is actually scheduled for an in-person meeting, which would be at Eastleigh House, but discussions with Sarah yesterday that may not be necessary. It may be another online meeting. It really depends on the content of the agenda and the items that are being considered. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. We'll confirm over the before the end of the week, hopefully. and let all members and then the members of the public can know as well. But yeah, it can probably be online, but I just need to check something with Lisa first.
Okay, that's fine. We'll keep everybody informed on that. Thank you to everybody for your attendance, and this concludes our meeting. Okay, and we'll see you on the 7th of March, one way or the other. Okay, thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Good night.